Hi, welcome to Exploring Elixir. So in this lesson, I'll be showing how to create an Elixir app, how to run it and add dependency. Let's begin. Okay, so usually, if you want to create an Elixir project, you usually have to, of course, you have to usually do it on through the command line. One of the first commands you could do is mix how do you do a new mix intro. So this is a command that you have by default when you install Elixir. So mix intro, it will then try and run and create a project for you. So this is one of the simplest ways to create a project. I'll show you a little bit more advanced way. So I use the Atom text editor. So once I have a folder created, I can just open the folder and see the project, see the files inside project. Okay, don't bother about that. So here we can see that our project that was created successfully. It's really that easy to work. It's to create projects. It's um, so here, so you can see, you can notice some folders in this project. This mix.exs is where you specify attributes of your project. So um, and another thing you need to notice about Elixir is it tries to write its configuration in the Elixir language itself. So if you notice this beginning do and beginning end, that's valid Elixir syntax. So it's trying to write its own configuration. It does things in such a way that its own configuration is done in its own language. So when you see something like this is specifying a module, okay, and since Elixir is a functional language, functions are defined inside modules. So you usually call a function that's defined in a module. So this is the name of our module. It's kind of a combination of the name of the module and its package. A package is where you house modules, sort of. So here, this is where you specify the parts of your project. So you specify, like a little name, and notice the colon here. Things that have colons are called atoms. Okay. So remember what I said about in the intro to the course, where I said I won't teach you the language, but as we learn different parts of Elixir, you automatically learn the language as we go on. So this is an atom, and it's used to specify the name of the project within it. You have the version of your project and the version of Elixir you're running. You know, then you don't need to worry about this for now. But the next thing you need to worry about is this depth. This is where, so this is kind of saying this depth is a key, okay, and the value of the key is this, and this is, if this depth is a function that has to be called, and what that function returns is a list of the dependencies of the projects. Okay, so if you come down, you notice this def p is just saying this is a function but that it's private. Okay, so let's see. So with that out of the way, okay, then this application part, there's a way Elixir works. Dependencies that you add, some of them may actually be dependencies that have to run. Okay, so for now, for something like this, now this logger is just saying that we need the logger application to be included with our own application, but logger comes by default in Elixir, so we don't have to add it in depth. Okay, so let's see how we can just run this. Normally your Elixir code will be in this lib directory. Okay, so they've already created a module for us. So like I said, a module is where you house functions, and functions are the things you can call and run in Elixir. So let's see if we can just say our main. Okay, do end. So if you notice, in this atom editor, I'm getting some help, which is very cool, so let's use a function. Let's say io.put. We are inside our main function. Okay, and if you notice, you know how to define words, use double quotes. Okay, and if you want to call a function that's inside the module, use the dot. So io is the module and input is a function defined inside that module, okay? And if you notice, you don't have to put semicolon. Alright, so this is the way you define a function, and this is how you call functions inside other functions, okay? And this is how you specify arguments to those functions. Alright, so now that we've done that, let's see if we can, let's try to run this. So we already have this is the terminal, the command line where we created the project. So let's go into it. Mix intro. Okay, so normally when you want to start playing with Elixir, there's something called IEX, which is separate from Mix. IEX is what we call interactive Elixir. It's a way for us to play with and to have a discussion with Elixir, where we can define variables, call functions, and see the return values of those functions. So for now, we may not really need to use this. My name is just to show you how it works. Okay, age is 45 years old. Okay, so that's just show you strings and integers. But for now, what is of interest to us is we really want to run the program, the project we just did. So the way we do it is you have to use the IEX command, but there's a way you can add mix into your IEX session. So you do this. This is what you do. Okay, you say IEX-S mix. So once you've done this, you now have access to that mix intro that we had before. So let's see now. So once we are here, we can do mix intro our main, and we can see that what we typed in there worked. Okay, so we've seen how to create a mix project. We've seen how to define, we've seen some of the details of the attributes of your project in the mix.exs. We've seen how to define a function inside the module and do function calls, and we've also seen how to see the effects of those function calls from IEX. So that's pretty cool. So the next thing I would like to show you is how to specify the name of your project. For example, this uh, intro, you may not really like the name, and the default name that appears there, you may not like it, so you can be more specific. So for example, let's let's delete this project and do it and rewrite it. And okay, let's do this. So let's close this and let's delete that. There's another way we can create a project. We could do something like this. We could do mix new, mix intro hyphen module. So this is just trying to specify what the name of the module, the default module should be. So we say mix intro, you know. So now nicely it has created it for us. So let's open it again. Let's see that the name we specified was actually used. Okay, okay, atom, come on. And oh, okay, can you see, notice, can you see the mix module we're using? It's more specific. I really thought the mix. Okay, yeah. Sorry to. This mix intro was what we specified, but the file will still be in lowercase. Okay, because by default, it's best in mix. The default convention is to have your file names in lowercase. Yeah, so we can still add function like we did before. Do stuff. Do main io.put, and apart from io.put, there's also io.inspect, where we can see the details of any Elixir object. So we can say my details. Okay, say something like my name, my age 45. We could say my height height is let's say 20 centimeters, something like this. Then we can inspect it. And whoops, can you note? Did you notice how this atom is showing me the errors that I have typed in? So I think I need to show you this. In settings, and you can go to packages and see the packages that Elixir has installed. So that Atom has installed. So let's, if you type Elixir, you can see some of the packages I have installed. It's these tools really help you make your Elixir development much easier. So let's, if we go here, autocomplete Elixir, we go to language Elixir, and we go to linter Elixir RC. So in these URLs, I think once you can install these guys, you just have a more a pleasant development experience with Elixir, because when you have syntax errors, they just let you know. Okay, so let's see what's this saying at line 3. Okay, I think you don't supposed to not put details. Okay, okay, then what's going on here? For my need, oh, is it forgotten? What's that? Why is this thing giving me syntax error? It's meant to be okay. There's another way we can do this. Let's make it easier for us. Okay, I think that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, yeah, because they call this a keyword list. Okay, so another way we could have done that is could have done this done it this way. Both ways would work. Okay. Oh, and this is the way you write comments in Elixir. Oops. Oops. Okay, syntax. Okay, I think that should be okay. Then there's error here. Okay. Wow. What? Expected. Oh. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. What this errors? Okay. For if okay, so this should be comma, right? Okay. So if you notice, these are two ways of saying the same thing. So both of them are keyword lists. Um, so here, and the first version is just a simpler way of specifying the second version. Okay. So for now, let's just use the second version. So let's try and inspect that. So let's um okay. So what's the command? IEX mix. Okay. So what's our function? Uh, mix intro dot do stuff. Okay, so the inspect is working as it should. So what it does is any arbitrary elixir valid elixir object, it will try and print it out for you so I can see the details. So just imagine something like an object that you get from a database. You don't know how many records there are, so you can just inspect it and see exactly see what's in it. So that's about creating projects, running a few, running and creating the project and running the project. So let's see how we can add dependencies. So a dependency I've chosen to work with in this lesson is a library for working with JSON. So using this same project, let's try and add the JSON dependency so we can look at how to um, print out a JSON string from an Elixir object and to get Elixir objects from JSON strings. That's encoding and decoding. So when we go here, we can do something like this. Inside our depth file, this is how you specify an Elixir dependency. You do this, you say JSON, so you do a comma, and you do this, you do that, then you do so it's 0.3.0. Okay, so if you notice, remember how I showed you that keyword list? Very similar. So here we are specifying a keyword list. So I'm sure we could have done it something. We could have done something different. We could have done something like this. JSON, something like that. Okay, but let's not do that. Let's just go with the default standard. Because one thing about programming is, I'm sure you already know, is you write your programs in a way that follows the conventions and idioms of the language or ecosystem, so that other developers that look at your program don't experience too much difficulty in understanding what you're trying to do. So let's so now that I've added the dependency, the way we pull it in is we go into this place. Okay, let's stop this IEX session, and then we do mix steps.get. Okay, so that should take a little while for it to pull it down. So while it's doing its thing, we can chill. Wow, my internet access must be really bad. Okay, okay, sweet, it's all in here. Sweet. So we've gotten it. So now that we have it, and then notice, once the dependency or library is successfully downloaded, it's added to the deps folder for you. Alright, so let's go into here. Let's see if we can try and play with JSON. So normally, for certain dependencies, you have to require them. And also, sorry, forgot to mention, um this JSON library is pretty simple enough that we don't have to add it in this application's keyword list. Okay, so all we need to do in order to use this is just to go to whatever module we want to use it on and say require JSON. So from here, so let's say, very good, very nice, we already have a valid Elixir object. So let's try and encode it into a JSON string. So let's say my details as JSON. So we can say something like JSON dot encode, something like this, my details. And then there's a way Elixir works. You have to say something like this, okay, okay, and yeah. So we can do something like, I now say inspect, or we could say inspect, or let's say IOput. Let's use IOput. Well, we can do, let's use inspect. Can you notice the suggestion? No, no, very nice, very nice. I think you should really think about using Atom for Elixir development. So details as JSON. Okay, so let's do that. So we have to recompile. So after we've done that, we do mix compile. So also we also apart from using IEX, we could also do something like mix compile. That helps to bundle up your project, and it helps to show you if you had errors. So at that point, if you had errors, it should have shown us. So let's try and let's see that in action. So let's put something like this now. Even though our tool is telling us we have an error, let's just try and compile it in from our command line. It should tell us that there's an error with what we've done. So very good. It has told us there's an error warning. Variable my details is unused. Yes, it is unused, but that's just a warning. But the real error is here. My detail, undefined function, my detail. Yeah, so it's telling us that this my detail is an undefined function. You know, it just thinks we just done rubbish. So let's put back Ctrl Z. Okay. Okay, so let's do that. So our Atom is happy, and let's recompile. Then once we've done that, we can now go on our IEX S mix. So let's do that. So we can now say mix intro dot do stuff. Can you see, notice the difference in the response? When we just did IO inspect earlier, we just had the Elixir object just spat back at us, but now when we're encoding it as a JSON string, we can see it that it's really a JSON string that's returned back to us. So that's cool. So that's how to add a dependency, how to include it, and how to use it. So let's look at maybe how to decode. Decoding is a little bit trickier, but nothing too difficult. So if we had let's do something like this, IO dot put something like this, then and in order to decode we do something like this, JSON dot decode my details as JSON, something like this. But we also, the cool thing is, because when you have a JSON string, it may not be a valid JSON string, so it's always best to use a case where you can specify if this if it was successfully decoded or not. So we can do something like this, okay, and decoded JSON, something like this. So this is also a way. This is how we do switch in Elixir. So we can do something like this, and okay, very nice. So let's do something. So we can say I can now say IO. Let's say IO dot put JSON successfully decoded. Then we now do our inspect decoded JSON. Okay, so we can do something like io.put JSON was not successfully decoded. Right, so all should go fine. So let's see it in action. So let's end this. Let's mix compile. Are we good? We good. IX mix. Okay, so let's do what we did earlier. So we did let's see if our command is still in the suite. It's still there. So if you notice, there's the JSON successfully decoded, and it prints out what we expected. So and if you notice, it's not just a JSON string like earlier. It's not a valid Elixir object. Can you see this percentage that tells you that it's a valid Elixir object? Yeah. So another interesting library is the logger. So instead of using IO put, we could have used logger. So but logger is within Elixir itself, so we don't really have to specify the dependency. So instead of using IO puts here, we can use logger just to print out stuff. So let's use a logger. So we could just change this IO puts to logger.info. Okay, so these are just some of the ways you print out stuff in Elixir, because it's kind of important. And when you're doing development, you need to be able to. I'm sure you're aware of this, but you should be able to print out stuff so that it can help debug your program to know at what step the value of variables are. So let's do this. Logger.info. What else? Okay, logger.info here as well. Okay, so yeah, IO inspect. Okay, well, we can just use, let's see, IO dot like IO dot info. Would that work? Because I think IO inspect is best for objects of arbitrary values. So inspect. Okay, let's see. We don't have to do. We can just comment this out. Okay. Okay. So let's see that in action. Okay. And mix compile to be sure we don't have any errors. Okay, then ix mix, very good. So we can just quote to get the command we ran before, and boom, can you see it even tells us the time the command was run, info about to decode JSON, and here it tells us shows us the value of the decoded JSON. Okay, but it's actually inspect instead of logger. So I hope so. with all this, I believe we should come to a close of this lesson. So we've seen how to create a project in Elixir. We've seen how we understand parts of the mix.exx file. We've seen how to run the mix project. We've looked at how to add dependencies. We've looked at how to include. So with that, I thank you for being at this lesson, and I hope you learned a lot and had a great time.